Thank you, gentlemen, for making time today. So we have Alan Burt and Bill Pop, right? And yeah, can you maybe introduce yourselves and tell us more about Polymesh and Red Belly Network, respectively?
Perfect. Obviously, it's on. Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Papp. I'm the CEO of Polymesh. Polymesh is a layer 1 blockchain based out of Switzerland, even though I am based in Boston. We are a public permission chain, 100% focused on regulated markets, regulated entities, and securities. Going back into 2021, the decision was made to really build the blockchain out geared towards the regulated market. In March and April of this year, we did announce Polymesh Private. So Polymesh Private is an instance on Polymesh, and that is totally focused towards larger financial institutions, whether they're banks, custodians, broker-dealers, and alike. And of course, with Polymesh Private, you get that security, especially as it relates to controlling your data and also confidentiality.
My name is Alan Burt. I'm from the Red Belly Network. We're a lot newer than our friends at Polymesh, but on a very similar mission. We're a layer 1 blockchain also, focused on the tokenization of regulated assets. We're spun out of the University of Sydney and the Australian government. So on that basis, they are very much focused on how we can create economic benefits for all of us by unlocking the potential of securities particularly to be traded more efficiently and capital to flow more freely globally.
Great, thank you. So what are your key strategies and approaches for the tokenization of RWAs, along with any notable case studies that you can share?
So for Polymesh, we're really taking a barbell approach, specifically around primary issuance, and also as it relates to the custody side. There's things that I can control or Polymesh can control, and certainly that is putting real-world assets on-chain, and then obviously providing custody in a transfer agent. Everything in the middle eventually will come as it relates to ATS platform, stablecoin, but we're seeing some really good use cases in the United States as it relates to real estate. So as you already know, real estate is the largest asset class by a factor of 100, taking into consideration the public markets, both equity and fixed income. So we just recently onboarded 2 real estate platforms. One is called RE Tokens. We actually, believe it or not, tokenized a church in Fort Collins, Colorado. So it was picked up by the press. You can check that out. In addition, we onboarded a real estate platform out of Toronto. This particular platform, the co-founder comes from a top global commercial real estate broker. So you're talking about potentially, Class A type properties, whether they're in Canada, the United States, or abroad. Recently, I know there was an example with the state of California putting on chain car titles. We're actually working with a Florida-based platform that actually puts real estate titles on chain. And of course, the Korean market is very, very important to us. I was here around a month and a half ago at the Korean Blockchain Week, and looking forward to working with BDAX in addition to the Busan exchange.
Thanks. Our strategy is a little more focused on asset issuers, and most predominantly on unserved markets rather than underserved markets. So we've been focusing on assets that currently live in spreadsheets or email or databases that have no or low liquidity and are usually traded by appointment or similar. Some examples of that are we've securitized about $1.8 billion worth of residential leases. So this now allows people to borrow against the future income of their rental property and or the management agreement and the rights that manage that property as an example. Another fun example in the carbon market is Connecticut in the US have just allowed carbon to be used as regulatory capital in insurance pools. And so we're now starting to do some composability between the carbon market and the insurance market. And so what's really nice about this is not fiat based. We're starting to go asset to asset on rails, but all of these securities need appropriate licensing to support them, and that's why we have a verifiable credential layer that allows us to issue the appropriate credentials to comply with any of the regulation globally. We've heard today a lot about different regulation frameworks globally and almost the opportunity to arbitrage those, in my opinion. And so we've been focused on, we don't share the view that that's ever going to be harmonised, regardless of how optimistic we are by the technology. We think that the way to solve for it is to put the primitives into the blockchain to allow people to kind of compose the eligibility criteria in order to trade that asset. And so we've been focused on really understanding what those asset issuers need in low liquidity markets to better access distribution and ultimately a better cost of capital.
Thank you. What challenges or barriers has your companies faced during the tokenization process of RWAs, and how have you addressed them?
So 2023 was really about POCs, proof of concepts, beta testing. I think there's been, Alan and I had a chance to chat both last night and today. It's a little bit frustrating as it relates to getting those assets, on chain. But what we are seeing in 2024 is momentum, especially as it relates to regulation. So specifically with Korea, specifically with Busan, with recent changes, and more importantly, the partnership between the public sector, government officials, the private sector, and educational institutions, really, pushing the agenda as it relates to RWAs. And that not only includes real-world assets, but you're talking about the tokenization of securities in the United States, tokenization of treasury bills, tokenization of a money market fund, BIDL, that being BlackRock. I was chatting with somebody earlier as it relates to Korean bonds, and wouldn't that be great to put that on chain? So to answer your question, we are seeing a shift from 2023, kind of proof of concept, beta testing, to now actually putting these assets on chain.
Our biggest issue has been with incumbency, actually. So the existing financial value chain, which is well understood and regulated and trusted, not really proactively trying to disrupt itself. And so the Reserve Bank of Australia, our Federal Reserve, if you like, recently did a study that worked out that there's about a $13 billion annual saving to investors through tokenisation. But the challenge is, who wants to give up the $13 billion? There's a lot of quarterly bonuses tied to that. And so realistically, we're seeing the new markets where those existing incumbents aren't there, kind of setting the lead. Also, we are seeing, a bit like what Bill was saying earlier, a change in appetite from the regulator to promote competition and a better cost to serve. So they've become a bit more of an advocate. I think we also underestimate the perceived technology risk. I know blockchain's been around for a little while, but for a lot of incumbents, it's still new and unknown, and there's not a lot of knowledge to support not just the implementation, but the kind of risk and compliance people to take that step outside of POCs would be the big headwinds, I think.
All right, due to the time limitation, I'm just going to ask you a final question and a bit of a curveball. So I'm seeing a lot of pink hoodies out there, and I've been really inspired by them today. I think they represent the next generation of young leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors. So could you share any word of advice to any anecdote that you could share along your career journey to, get to where you are? Yeah.
Great question. So it's really the younger generation that's really driving, let's just say, the older folks, such as myself and Alan, and some of the others that have been on stage, to really move forward as it relates to regulation, not only as it relates to blockchain, but cryptocurrency. So, we all use our phones for different things. What I can tell you is last week I spent the whole week in Beijing at the SWIFT Sibos conference, and I would say 3/4 of the panels were about AI, the digitalization of payments, the tokenization, and blockchain. And so it's really the younger generation that's really pushing the ball forward to push the older generation in governments to update their regulations.
I'll be harder, but on the same theme. I think young people are appropriately disenfranchised with the current kind of status of the capital market and their exclusion from elements of that capital market, whether it's property, whether it's wholesale, sophisticated investor, higher yielding products or different risk profiles. I think generally, thankfully, they're more financially literate and they should continue to become more financially literate. And that doesn't mean speculating on meme coins, folks. That means understanding a balanced portfolio and allocating your hard-earned dollars appropriately. And blockchain technology is the way for you to be more included and access these opportunities that are currently reserved for institutions and high net worths that really will cement your place in the future and the opportunity to be kind of upwardly mobile. So I think continue to drive this from the grassroots, get the reforms done. Great to see you guys get a petition away today to lobby government to move forward on that. So I think really you are the change agents that are required to reset the financial system.
All right. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Thank you.